إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ونبيه من خلقه وخليله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما إن أصدق الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. We are here today on the 12th day of Ramadan. And if you think about it, the 12th day of Ramadan, that means more than a third of Ramadan has passed by. قد ذهب الثلث والثلث كثير. An entire third, even more than a third of Ramadan has passed by, and that is a sizable portion of the month, gone. It has been decided how we have performed for a sizable portion of the month. And for many of us, this third that we have already experienced, we may have already started to see the deficiencies in our consistency, the deficiencies and inconsistency in our performance. At this point, we may have sacrificed 2 or 3, maybe even 4 nights of Ramadan out of laziness. We may have already experienced the dip in our performance. And we may be currently experiencing that dip in our performance. And we don't have that same spiritual charge that we may have had in the beginning of Ramadan. But I'm here to tell you, you need to wake up now. As fast as those 12 days passed by, these next 8 days are going to pass by even quicker. And after that, we will start the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the best nights of the year, the most important nights of the year for your success as a Muslim. And if you don't ramp things up now and enter the last 10 nights of Ramadan on a roll, already worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very consistent, in a very hard-working manner, it will be too late when the last 10 nights come in and you're trying to ramp up things back then. Figure it out now. Figure it out now so you can enter the last 10 nights of Ramadan and keep getting better in those last 10 nights. And what we can say today is a lot of us have lost a good amount of motivation, the same charge that we had in the beginning of Ramadan. But how can we revive that? How can we perform in these next 8 days, such critical days that will be critical to our success in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, critical to our success in Laylatul Qadr? We must ramp it up now. And we must find in ourselves and renew the motivation in ourselves and have a new game plan. How to attack the next 8 days and how to attack the remainder of Ramadan. And there are 5 things we will talk about today, inshaAllah, that will help us be organized. How will we attack the rest of Ramadan? How are we going to be successful? The number one thing we need to understand that will help us, inshallah, in being successful for the rest of the month is we have to constantly beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to worship Him. to constantly make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength and the ability to worship Him, and to give us the tawfiq in worshiping Him for the remainder of the month. And we as Muslims, for the main concept of our religion, the concept of tawheed, we must embody it in all of our actions and all of our values. And because we understand as Muslims who believe that there is no God other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we also believe that nothing happens on this earth, in this world, without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And none of us have power except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the power to do things. None of us have the ability to do anything except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ability to worship Him. We have to keep this in mind. You have to remember this. We have to constantly ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to worship Him this month. We have to realize that it's all in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no power, there's no ability except in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the ability to do something, you will be able to do it. If not, you will not be able to. And we see this concept repeated so often in our daily lives as Muslims. We may not pay attention to it, but we see it. When the mu'adhin calls the adhan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam commanded us to do what? إِذَا سَمِعْتُمُ الْمُؤَذِّنَ فَقُولُوا مِثْلَ مَا يَقُولُ. If you hear the mu'adhin, then you say what he says. He says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. But when he says, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah, do we say Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah? Come to victory, come to salah. What do we say? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no power, there is no ability except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, you're calling me to pray. You're calling me to come to success. But I can't do it except that you give me the ability to do so. You're acknowledging at that moment, whether you know it or not, that it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the ability to worship Him. Then when you enter the salah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawm Ad-Din, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. We say each rak'ah of the salah in the prayers 17 times a day at least. Ya Allah, you alone we worship, but at the same time, you alone we seek aid from. Ya Allah, I'm telling you I'm going to worship you. I'm going to worship you only. But at the same time, I understand I cannot worship you until you give me the ability to do so. I am asking you to help me to worship you. I won't be able to do it without you. And then when you end the salah, what do we say? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he talked to Mu'adh. He brought Mu'adh ibn Jabal next to him. And Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he's one of the biggest of the Sahaba. Mu'adh, he was considered the faqih of the Sahaba, the scholar of the Sahaba. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam brings Mu'adh next to him and tells him, Wallahi ya Mu'adh, inni la uhibbuk. He's giving him a little intro. Wallahi ya Mu'adh, I love you. I love you. Rasulullah is giving this introduction because he's telling him, because I love you, listen to this piece of advice I have. I have an excellent piece of advice. Because I love you, I want to see your success. So listen to what I have to say. فَلَا تَدَعَنَّ أَن تَقُولَ دُبُرَ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. Ya Allah, give me the ability after every salah. Do not stop saying after every salah, Ya Allah, give me the ability and give me the strength, give me the aid to worship you, to remember you, to be grateful to you. And so we as Muslims during this time of Ramadan, where we want to be successful, where we want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more, we have to continuously beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to worship Him. This dua, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik, it should be moist on our tongues, always saying it. Especially during Ramadan, a time when dua is more accepted than it will ever be throughout the year. And so we have to understand this as Muslims. Because what happens with most of us is that we start off Ramadan very well. We come out, we come out the beginning of Ramadan fiery. We do really well in the first 10 days usually. But what happens? During the next 10 days, the middle 10 days, we have this dip in performance. Most of us. We have this dip in performance. And we lag behind. And then when the last 10 nights come back, we ramp it up again. But that's not what we want. It's only a few days. أياما معدودات. What is the ideal scenario? Is that we start at the worst possible state in the beginning and we continuously get better throughout Ramadan. It's just 30 days. So we should be gradually getting better. We should have the discipline to give ourselves the ability to continue getting better throughout Ramadan. But the thing is, the reason most of us fall into this trap is because we believe in ourselves too much. We think I have the motivation, I have the discipline, I have the willpower to go to Taraweeh every night. I have the willpower, the discipline to go to Fajr every day in the masjid. I have the discipline, the willpower to read the Quran once or twice this Ramadan. We may not say it, but this is what we're thinking. This is subconsciously what's going on. We forget to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives us the ability to do all of these. And so we have to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to think about this all the time. There was a story in which Fudayl ibn Iyad, one of the biggest scholars of the Salaf, and when we say the Salaf, what do we mean by that? We mean the first 3 generations that came after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the Sahaba who met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Tabi'een who met the Sahaba, and the Tabi'een, the next generation after that, who met the Tabi'een. These are the Salaf, the 3 generations of the Salaf. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that these are the 3 greatest generations to grace the earth, and we should follow them. And so one of the biggest scholars of the Salaf, his name was Fudayl ibn Iyad. And he was talking to someone about the hostilities of shaitan and how to beat your desires, how to beat your nafs, and how to beat shaitan. And so Fudayl asks the man, if a dog came to you and attacked you, it's harassing you, what would you do? The man says, I'd take a rock, throw it at it, and it would go away. Fudayl says, what if it comes back? I'd throw a rock at it and it'll go away. Fudayl is like, what if it comes back? Throw a rock at it and it'll go away. What if it comes back? Rock at it and it'll go away. Fudayl is like, you didn't solve anything. He keeps coming back. That's not a solution. So the man said, so what's your solution? What do you want? The solution is to call upon the owner of the dog to tame his dog. Call upon the owner of the dog to tame his dog. What is Fudayl telling us? That it's not a solution for you. You don't want to enter Ramadan alone. You don't want to enter Ramadan trying to beat shaitan, trying to beat your nafs, the desires, your bad habits alone. No, you call upon the owner, the one who created those desires, who instilled those desires in you, who instilled those deficiencies where we want to be lazy, where we may want to do bad deeds. You call upon the one who put those desires in you to give you the ability to subjugate them, to stay away from them, and to give you the strength to worship Him this month. Extremely important. So that's number 1. Beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout Ramadan to give you the strength to worship Him. Number 2, we must have ikhlas. We must be sincere in our worship this month. We must continuously revise our intentions. What are we doing this for? Why are we fasting Ramadan? Why am I coming to pray Taraweeh? Why am I doing this suhoor? Why am I reading Quran? Am I truly doing it for the sake of Allah? Or am I doing it so the people don't say like, oh, this guy doesn't come to the masjid? Or am I doing it just so I can hang around with my friends? Who am I doing it for? If you're doing it, you should constantly revise your intention. Review who you're doing it for. Because if you truly want to be successful during Ramadan, you have to be sincere. You have to do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. And the thing is, you probably hear in every single khutbah, no matter what the topic is, the khatib coming up and telling you, oh brothers and sisters, you have to be sincere. Every single week probably you hear this. And you may think at this point it's a bit cliche. Why do you keep bringing it up? The thing is, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam showed us that it is literally what our entire religion revolves around. Our religion is a religion of action. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said what? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Truly, your actions are based on your intention. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. You will be judged based on your intention. So that means your entire action, it revolves around how sincere you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in doing that action. And sincerity does not come only from the heart. Sincerity from the heart is shown in how hard you work, how determined you are, and how much work you put in to prove to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you truly want to please Him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never burdened us with results. We said in the beginning, we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what? The strength to worship, the tawfiq. The results are up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what is up to us? The niyyah. What's in our hearts and how much effort we put in. How much can we prove to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I truly want to come close to you? And it will be proved in your action and how hard you work. And this concept of ikhlas, who am I doing it for? It's so important because if you want to be successful this Ramadan, you're telling yourself, I want to be successful. I want to go to Taraweeh every day. I want to go to Fajr every day in the masjid. I want to read the Quran at least once during Ramadan. And you're doing this, but you're not doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't have these goals in mind to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you? If you're not doing it for His sake, why would He help you? He's not going to let you achieve your goals if you're not doing it for His sake. Why would He help you? Only when you do it solely for His sake will He help you. And that's why the Salaf, they used to say, مَنْ أَخْلَصَ لِلَّهِ فِي عَمَلٍ فَتَحَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ 40 بَابًا مِنْ أَبْوَابِ التَّوْفِيقِ. That whoever is sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his worship, who truly wants to achieve his goals solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open for him 40 doors from the doors of tawfiq. And what is tawfiq? Tawfiq is the ability to achieve your goal, the ability to do the action you wanted to do. And subhanAllah, this is something we see over and over again. There are so many huffaz, for example, who tell us that they started memorizing the Quran for maybe the wrong intentions. Maybe they wanted to show off to the people. Maybe they wanted to do it just because their parents told them to do so. So all of them, without exception, said that they forgot the entire Quran. And the Quran became an afterthought in their life because of their intention. And when they said, I woke up one day and I said, I'm going to do this for the sake of Allah. I'm going to be sincere. What happened? They were able to memorize the Quran. And they were able to retain it. And they were able to act upon the Quran. And the Quran changed their lives because they changed their intention. So that's number 2. Constantly revise your intention. You will not achieve anything during Ramadan. You will feel like a loser at the end of Ramadan because you didn't achieve anything because you kept forgetting to evaluate yourself. Assess who you're doing it for. We said number 1, beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the strength to worship. Number 2, to be sincere. Number 3 is for you to remember your relationship with Allah. Remember Allah's closeness to you and your distance. Remember Allah's generosity and mercy upon you and your constant disobedience of Him. Remember how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides and protects you every single day, every second of the day, and how you constantly are heedless and negligent of Him. Remember your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the previous 11 months. Don't make these first 12 days of Ramadan make you forget how you actually were for the past 11 months. Humans, we have very short-term memories. We think that because we've been doing well this Ramadan, that's how it's always been. But it's not been like that. Remember how you were for the rest of the 11 months of the year. And you should be embarrassed. You should realize how much you need this time to fix your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This embarrassment should motivate you to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much you need these days of Ramadan to come closer. And we see the power of this in the very story of Fudayl ibn Iyad, the person who we talked about in the beginning, one of the biggest scholars of the Salaf. He was not always one of the biggest scholars of the Salaf. Rather, he had been known for 40 years to be the most infamous highway robber in the Arabian Peninsula. Everyone knew Fudayl ibn Iyad as the most treacherous, dangerous highway robber there was in the Arabian Peninsula. From Yemen to Palestine, everyone knew about Fudayl ibn Iyad. And so Fudayl ibn Iyad, he fell in love with this woman. And he's going, now, he made the decision that he's going to go to her house at night, and he's deciding that he's going to commit a heinous crime with her. And while he's starting to scale the walls of her house, to get into the quarters of her house, he starts hearing the neighbor reciting an ayah of the Quran. The ayah in Surah Al-Hadid, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنْهُ. Is it not time for those who believe, for their hearts to be humbled by the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for their hearts to be humbled by the truth, for their hearts to be humbled by the Quran? Fudayl is hearing this while he's scaling the walls, and he says, Ya Rabbi qad an. Ya Rabb, this is the time for me. I can't. He remembered and he said, I can't do this bad thing. I can't commit this heinous crime. And so he starts to return. He says, I'm not going to do it anymore. On his way back home, remember this is night, he sees a group of travelers at night. And amongst the group of travelers, they're talking to themselves, and they're trying to decide whether they should continue traveling at night or whether they should camp and continue their journey in the morning. Some people are saying, okay, we should continue right now so we get to our destination in the morning. Others are saying, no, we can't do that. We can't continue traveling at night. Fudayl is going to be somewhere on the path. Fudayl himself is overhearing this, and he's saying, subhanallah, not only was I going to commit a heinous crime between me and Allah, I've also instilled fear into the hearts of all the Muslims. How far have I gone? What have I done? And so at that moment he realized his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he probably never even thought about it. A lot of us forget where we are in terms of how close we are truly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to remember this, and that should motivate us. Because after this, Fudayl ibn Iyad truly became one of the biggest scholars of the Salaf. You do not see any book of tafsir or any Islamic book generally except that Fudayl is quoted in it. SubhanAllah. We must constantly remember our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that should fuel us and motivate us and make us realize how much we need Ramadan to come close. Number 4 is that we must repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now and strive throughout this month to earn the repentance and earn the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Ramadan, we're expected as Muslims to excel, to fly high in spirituality, in our worship. How can we do that when we are still burdened with our sins? When we are still burdened with the 11 months of negligence that we had? You're still carrying the heavy loads of your bad deeds. How do you think you're going to excel in this month? It's not going to happen. And so if you haven't already repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before this month started, then you must do it now. And you must strive for the rest of this Ramadan to earn the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A man came to Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, and asked him for one piece of advice to suffice him for Ramadan. And so Imam Malik tells the man, do you have any sins? The man said, of course, I'm a human being, we all have sins. So Imam Malik tells him, okay, if you have a sin, then فَعْمَلْ لِلَّهِ طِيلَةَ هَذَا الشَّهْرِ حَتَّى تَعْلَمَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ غَفَرَ لَكَ أَلَمْ تَسْمَعْ قَوْلَ حَبِيبِكَ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم المحروم من حرم في رمضان من رحمة الله تعالى. Imam Malik tells this man, you have bad deeds. If you want one piece of advice this Ramadan, then you should act and work as hard as you can during this month of Ramadan until you are certain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven your bad deeds. Did you not hear what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said? The deprived one, the loser, the one who has been deprived truly is the one who has been deprived of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan. And this statement could not be more true. Rasulullah himself said, من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. That whoever fasts Ramadan, imanan, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing it for his sake, wahtisaban, and he understands that his reward is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of his bad deeds, his past bad deeds. You have someone who's wanted. He's millions of dollars in debt. His house is about to be foreclosed. The mafia wants his head. And worst of all, he's been canceled. And you're telling him, you're giving him the opportunity. that you have 30 days. All you need to do is come to Taraweeh, come to Salat al-Fajr in the masjid. Because none of us have an excuse for Salat al-Fajr in the masjid. None of us. We should all be coming to Fajr in the masjid for Ramadan. And you're telling him, this person who is wanted with all these things, you come to the masjid every day for Taraweeh and for Fajr, and you read the Quran once or twice during Ramadan, and your past, it's all, you have a clean slate now. You would call him an idiot if he passes up this opportunity. That you would not have any other way to describe it other than this man is stupid for not taking up this opportunity. 30 days? Are you kidding me? That's nothing. And what anyone would do in this instance is, instead, you're telling him to come to Taraweeh and telling him to come to Fajr. He'll be here from Asr time. He'll even lead Taraweeh himself. He'll be here since 3 a.m. in the morning to pray Fajr. 30 days? Are you kidding me? And my past is erased? I'd be stupid if I were to pass up this opportunity. So we can't be dumb like this. We have to take up this opportunity. Because the difference between the mu'min truly takes this opportunity and realizes his bad deeds and realizes he needs to be forgiven for his bad deeds. And he takes this opportunity. Because the difference between the mu'min and the muqassir, the believer and the one who is deficient in their iman, who is deficient in their actions, the difference between the winner and the loser is not that one of them has bad deeds and the other doesn't. No. كُلَّ بَنِي آدَمَ خَطَّاء. Every son of Adam is a sinner. But what? What distinguishes? وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. The best of sinners are those who repent. The loser will think about his bad deeds and he will regret. He will be depressed. He will be miserable. And that misery, that depression, that regret, it anchors him down. It prevents him from moving forward. But the mu'min, he takes this regret, he takes this misery, he takes this depression from his past, and it fuels him. And he looks forward, and he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He understands that no amount of regret, no amount of depression can change the past, but I control the present and the future. And this is the mindset that Rasulullah told us to have. وَأَتْبِعِ السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُوهَا. That after you do a bad deed, do a good deed. You've done a bad deed, don't just sit there. Don't just sulk and be miserable. No, immediately follow it up with a good deed. Rasulullah is telling us to move forward. Look forward. Don't be anchored down by your past, no matter how bad it was. Because even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually giving you the chance to change your past. Because the good deeds you do, it erases the previous bad deeds. So we have to keep this in mind. No matter what your past is, this is the opportunity. Allah's doors of mercy are open. So we can't squander this opportunity. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. We said the first 4 things that we need to keep in mind is that we need to constantly ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to worship. Number 2 is we should constantly revise our intentions. Who are we doing all these things for? Number 3, remember your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how much you need this. Number 4, remember that you need to strive to be forgiven this month. Now number 5 is that you have to be very clear what your goal is this month. And for every single Muslim, our goal in this month should be to be freed from Jahannam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, وَلِلَّهِ عُتَقَاءُ مِنَ النَّارِ وَذَلِكَ كُلُّ لَيْلٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will free a group of Muslims every night from hellfire and during Ramadan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is infinite, it's vast. There's no limit that He's setting. So we have to work hard. Do we understand the magnitude of this promise? The magnitude of the opportunities that we have been given this Ramadan to live at this point where we're being given the opportunity to achieve true success. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ. Whoever avoids Jahannam and enters Jannah, he is the truly successful one. He is victorious. He is the one who is successful. Nothing in your job, in your family, none of this stuff is true success. Anything that you strive for day in and day out. None of that is true success. You are given the opportunity to achieve true success every night of Ramadan. And this should fuel us. That means we shouldn't squander these 8 nights that are remaining outside of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. We can't just focus on those nights because you're wasting 8 perfectly excellent opportunities to achieve true success. And the 12 opportunities that we had in the beginning of Ramadan, they're gone. And the 30 opportunities we had the last year, they're gone. The 30 opportunities we had the year before that, gone. The 30 opportunities we had the year before that, gone. And you don't know how many more opportunities you have to achieve true success. Think about it. It should motivate you. It should give you the strength to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these few days. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة نعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم أنت لنا كما نحب فاجعلنا لك كما تحب. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه ولا تجعله ملتبسا علينا فنضل واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر. اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر. اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين وأعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين وانصر إخواننا المستضعفين في غزة وفي فلسطين. اللهم ثبت أقدامهم وسدد رميهم وأطعم جائعهم واشف مرضاهم يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأقم الصلاة.